Good afternoon. Thanks for meeting with me this afternoon. Last week, I emailed you all a copy of our current TAPR report, which is just the Texas STAR performance for the comparing the 2022 and the 2023 STAR data and how we have improved in third, fourth, and fifth grade reading, math, and science. There's also demographics that show how different subgroups did on STAR. And so I asked you to just kind of just internalize this data and then just whatever glow and grow that you have seen from last year to this year, and what are some notice things that you have. For example, one of the things I noticed as a glow is the fourth grade math scores. They increased from 2022 to this 2023. And one of the things I really noticed was at the grade level for meeting or above, the fourth grade math scores jumped 17%. So I thought that was a really good noticing for fourth grade for them. And then one of the grows that I noticed is just across the board in third, fourth, and fifth grade reading. The scores dropped from 2022 to 2023. So that's something that I noticed.
I noticed that too. I noticed that in all the grades and all the subjects, our campus surpassed both the state and the district percentages and scores. So I thought that was really good because I'm always like comparing our campus to what how the district did, and then how the state overall, and we surpassed both of them. So I think that was a glow. One of the grows was that our reading scores kind of decreased. So I think that's something that we can kind of discuss and talk about later.
All right, and my glow was from fourth grade SPED in particular. They increased in reading and math, which we know that's like a tough group to grow sometimes. One of our grows was again the reading that you had suggested. I noticed that there was a drop in all grade levels across all grade levels. But I also noticed that in math in third grade, we did have an increase in math scores for third grade.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's also noted too that not only did we drop in reading scores, but so did the district and the state as well. They both, dropped, especially like when I look at the fifth grade reading. They dropped it from the state. They went from 36% to 28%. So those are some big noticings, especially in reading. And so I guess as we think about each of us had a different glow, fourth grade math, comparing the percentages, how we surpassed both district and the state, and how you mentioned that subgroup of special education. So I guess in fourth grade, I guess just thinking what are some ways that we as a campus can sustain those glows so that we can we don't want to see those decrease. We want to see either keep them the same or keep improving. Right. So what are some ways that we might consider leveraging those glows?
I think with this year's STAR, they moved from a personal narrative form to
is it expository now?
Is it expository? I guess more expository. I guess with citing evidence and things like that. I know the upper grade levels really honed in on maybe the race strategies. So obviously continue that in the upper grade levels, but maybe bringing it down to the younger grade levels.
Yeah.
At an appropriate, in a appropriate way.
Yeah. Possibly second grade, introducing it second semester.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then even for first, I know for first and even kindergarten is hard, and we might get pushback. But obviously, if we can figure out a way to introduce it in a more first grade kindergarten friendly
Mhm.
way and just
Mhm.
talk about like we reading a passage or something, and then like
Yeah.
just asking them well, how do you know?
It's kind of just like talking about it. Cause,
Yeah.
Like, the kids, like, you teach kids, like, if you can talk about it, you can write about it. And so,
Yeah.
like, getting them comfortable
Yeah.
talking about those,
Yeah.
like, those
Yeah.
informational texts.
So if let's say for the younger grade levels, writing the race strategy is difficult in those grade levels, they can highlight their text, like highlight or underline, or even just like talk about it. Think, turn to your partner and
Right.
tell them, how do you know? And they can just talk about it, and then maybe move into like the second semester highlighting the evidence. Then
Or even just starting with like the R, the restating the question. So like if they can help have maybe the sentence starter, because you're pretty much using the sentence starter to restate the question, using some parts of the question to answer it. So helping them out with that instead of just like giving the answer.
Yeah.
Just having the sentence stem at the beginning for them, just so that they can get used to connecting the words that you're using from the question to start your answer or to start restating your answer or stating your answer.
Yeah. Because that
maybe
can be
for
kind
the
of
lower ones,
because that can be kind of a tricky skill to.
Yeah.
They don't always think about.
Yeah.
It's like right there, just restate the question.
Right.
But
sometimes they're actually stating the question again, just like the whole entire thing, instead of restating part of the question.
Yeah.
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 So sentence stem might help, even though it's kind of giving them the answer, but just
like
giving them
exposing
practice.
to it.
Right. Practice.
If they can be exposed by first grade
Mm-hmm.
and then go into second grade and then third, fourth, fifth, like I think that would be really great.
Because the R would kind of be given to them, I guess, in kindergarten first, but really the A is what they're working on, the answering it.
And
so
the C.
I
I think the A and the C is always like the hardest one.
But the answering it will go with that sentence stem, so it's kind of like just a fill in the blank kind of.
And
thing
using
for
a
them
lot of sentence stems
at
in
first.
like kinder, first grade, even second, to help them like form that thought in their response. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that early exposure will really help them in the long run. Because that's where
our greatest need
was
in reading.
In reading.
And so I think too, like maybe offering some like good professional development, like in August when teachers return, because we also know that STAR changed from paper pencil to a computer based, and like now they have to type their responses as well. Building that stamina of like being behind the computer and like typing responses. But I think just good professional development for the teachers to show them, and not just like maybe introduce to them like all of this in August, but how oftentimes in schools like we just get so busy that like we'll do these professional developments when we return in August, and then we just kind of like forget about it because we get so busy with getting new students and just creating like those routines and procedures, that maybe we should have more consistent like follow-up professional developments, like because next year's school calendar has a lot of built-in PD days that we could actually have like those testing grade levels, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Part of their PD day can be not just like internalizing the race strategy. Okay, like maybe you've done just like a surface level introduction with your class, but now how can we make it deeper and then like making their responses more thoughtful.
I also think like exposing, like let's say because we're doing STAR, right? Exposing the younger grade level teachers to what it even looks like.
What it is,
Because like for me, when I was doing STAR, it was paper, but now I don't even know what it looks like because it is on the computer, so I don't know. I did, snoop on like the TEA website, and I just kind of like looked at it for a little bit, and I think it will be a very eye-opening to other teachers who don't do STAR, what it looks like. Because if we want them to be on board, then they gotta even know what it looks like. It's kind of like also like planning backwards. Like they know what it's going to look like, then they can kind of like,
Yeah.
guide them to what it needs to be. But also like the STAR test now like it's not just like multiple choice. It's like check all that apply and like fill in the blanks. Like, but I didn't know that not until I looked at it online. So I think that part will also be eye opening for like the younger grade level teachers. To just to see what it even looks like.
Because then they could even change their own assessment.
Yes.
Class. Like, even if it doesn't have to do with the race strategy, it could be just answering questions. Select all that apply, like you said.
Like
but,
not always have the multiple choice A, B, C, D. They can do like which ones are quadrilaterals or like so check all that apply.
Yeah. Or even writing.
and math.
Yeah.
But no, they don't like. Some teachers don't know.
Yeah. But even writing like a written response in the lower grades, because they're not very familiar with the keyboard.
Yeah.
In the lower grades in pre-K and K, I think First has laptops, but they may not be familiar with the keyboard. So maybe even introducing like just writing, or even in kinder or pre-K, like as they're learning letters, to just like type on a keyboard, maybe not attached to anything, just like an empty keyboard to like practice where the keys are.
I kind of wish like we had like good typing.
Yeah.
Like, one that really practiced.
Yeah.
And, like could even like document their their growth,
their
typing,
like
right, their
That's what
speed.
we had.
their speed.
Yeah, I know we have that learning.com. I'm not sure if it documents like how fast they're typing or any of that. But I think like before even putting them on that, we just need to have them practice like the placement.
Hand placement. Yeah.
And
I know, like,
practicing
learning.com,
those.
they do like the whole like here, this is where your keys
Like your home keys.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's very like they just kind of like skim through it.
Yeah, I still have kids that.
They're still doing this.
Skim through it,
Yeah.
and then just like JK, or like
right.
So I don't know.
So I think like if we could make that an instruction, like maybe not with us, I don't know. I mean, it could be with like teachers, but maybe like with the media center person, like learning.com, but also like pause that now place, and you guys were learning about J and K, so I'm gonna call it out and you type it, or or just so that they're practicing J, K, or A or whatever. And then, so that could also be used in the teacher's classroom, maybe. That could become like a station where it's a buddy work type of activity where they're calling out the letters and checking their buddy to see if they're actually typing those letters correctly. So just so that it kind of transfers from, and everybody's kind of doing their part to prepare them for just a computer, because that's how basic it needs to be for the lower grades, and then like the upper grades. Kind of expanding on that, because it's a lot that goes into just the STAR test, because once they're there, it's like, okay, that's the first time they're seeing that they're typing in a response, that it's all expository, that
and
you're having a race strategy, so it's a lot of stuff.
And part of the rubric for I know grading the constructive response is like sentence structure and grammar, and using like punctuation and spelling. So
even if like lower grades, maybe it's not that type of constructive response like race, because it might be a little bit much for like kinder and first, but it's just at first their rubric is did you use a punctuation mark, or did you start with a capital letter, like 2 little check boxes, or using a variety, because I know variety of punctuation is sometimes the thing, so like maybe using a variety of, did you use an exclamation, question, period, capital, and then just keep adding on, so that they're kind of starting with a checklist rather than a rubric, and then move into a rubric, but like baby steps with them, I guess.
I know, like in the past, and I know in the past, like I've done where like I've created like reading choice boards or whatever, and then you answer the questions. I've had that assignment online on Canvas, where I put the chart on Canvas, and then I put a rubric, like, okay, well, like your first sentence should be like what book you read and who's the author. The second one should be like what was it about.
Mhm.
The third one should be like what is your your
Yeah.
opinion.
So
Guiding them like
Each
your
step.
each
Yeah.
step, like sentence
Yeah.
1, sentence 2, sentence 3, and like in the first semester it was just like a video where like they could just record their video in response, but then at like the second semester I was like, okay, now you're gonna type it.
Mm.
So maybe
Yeah.
just like introducing them to like that option,
Yeah.
like providing that like
Mhm.
typing responses, because
Yeah.
a lot of it's just do like
Yeah,
paper,
right.
paper, right. But if
Right.
there's no paper on the test, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
get them used to like typing,
Yeah.
basically.
I really liked what you said about like getting the younger grades too, just to see like what like the lower grade teachers like to see like what we're doing
Mhm.
also impacts like the even though we're not testing grades, what we do impacts
Mhm.
that cross curricular
Yeah.
multi grade level. But because I think what would be great is that there is TA has like some sample like already scored writing
Yeah.
samples, and then like cutting the responses and then having each grade level kind of work together with the rubric and like the different responses and to be like, okay, what would you score this? Because I've seen them where, yeah, the response may be like really long and like seem detailed, but it doesn't answer the question of the prompt. And so it actually gets a score of like a 1.
Very low.
And so it would just be interesting to have all grade levels, look
Mhm.
to see like how this is really scored, so that then like the younger grades are like, oh, like kind of again like that buy-in of like,
Mhm.
yeah, what we're
What can
doing
we do?
will
Yeah.
impact them
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah. I think that like for our PD, maybe having vertical planning kind of, just to kind of see how the test changes from third to fifth,
Mm.
because there's like things added, or how they're similar or different, and then kind of thinking about, okay, this is what they're expected to do by third, and so how can we break that down into second, and then how can, now looking at second grade's ideas, how can first grade build on or add to that and break those strategies down, and then kinder look at first and how they can break those strategies down, just to make it baby steps at a time. But it's
Like
going
a
to take
rollout.
like quite a bit of planning, just so that everyone has like a part of it, so that by the time they're in third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, they've already had like a little piece.
It just builds upon each other. Yeah,
Added.
and kind of like our teaks. They
They build
upon
on
each
each
other.
other.
So should the writing.
Right.
So I wonder if that's something that like when it comes to like teams and lesson planning, that maybe like administrators should focus on a little bit more. And like, because typically like we focus so much on like our reading plans of, but like writing sometimes gets kind of like science and social studies can sometimes get like brushed under the rug. So maybe if like maybe a goal like a campus improvement plan, like part of the goal can be like just improving writing instruction across
Or having
the
a writing program.
writing program.
Yeah.
Just writing program in general, because we don't have
I
one that we really use, that everyone uses. It's just something that everyone kind of creates their own writer's workshop or writing time.
As long as, like you're writing.
Mhm.
One thing is also like editing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I feel like sometimes like these kids have never seen an editing passage before, and like how different it looks like from like a reading passage. Because I think we were talking the other day about like how like editing passages where all the sentences are numbered versus like the reading passages are numbered, but like exposing them to just even that. And you can expose them to editing passages, not even passages, like 2 sentences or 1 sentence, like in first grade edit 1 sentence, second grade let's edit like 2 sentences or 3 sentences and work your way up to more.
And I know like my morning work incorporates it like every day with just one
Me
simple
too.
sentence, and it touches so many like grammatical things, like a capital letter at the beginning, spelling,
We're on contractions on that one right
now. Punctuation mark, and also because like I like it because it will vary the punctuation. So it's like, oh, like look at that first word, that's a question word, so this sentence needs to end with a question mark. and just like subject verb agreement as
Right.
well, and like
Mhm.
looking at plurals and singular
Mhm.
nouns and verbs and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, because it's not just the writing, the constructive response that probably needs um, some assistance with like the scores, but also just test taking strategies of like recognizing online. Like, I'd like to see what it looks like online. Is it like a split screen where like a passage is on one side and the question is on the right
Yeah, that's
side, or do they
difficult.
know how to like go back?
I think it's an option.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't
I
know.
know
I've
that-
never
I-
seen it.
I know that's what a map test
I
looks
haven't
like.
seen it.
But yeah, so like
But
I mean,
even the scrolling, like sometimes, just the scrolling, going through and scrolling through a passage. I wish there were just more practice tests like that. I mean, we practice like with passages,
yeah,
writing your notes off to the side, all of that. But when it's on a screen, that's kind of difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish there was something where
And they get kind of
You
caught
could
up like
practice that.
zooming in to see
Yeah.
something, and so
I
Yeah.
do really like ReadWorks for it.
Mhm.
You know, like with like they have all those like tools and a split
Mhm.
screen and
Oh,
highlighting
yeah,
and the notes.
yeah.
I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That might be something. And they do like ReadWorks goes down to passages where it's like kindergarten, first grade level,
Oh.
where like the answer choices are pictures.
Oh.
Yeah.
So like they just
So that
A
would
or
be
B,
good,
it's
yeah.
two pictures. And so like it gives them that exposure of just even just working on a passage online.
Mhm.
So I think that might be something like
Yeah.
maybe someone can do a PD on just ReadWorks.
ReadWorks itself.
It's a good resource.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people just don't know what's out there, or they know, but it's just they're so overwhelmed with everything that's out there.
Yeah.
Like
so
I know about ELA,
Yeah.
that news one, the
News ELA.
news ELA, but
Yeah.
like I've never really
Yeah.
utilized it. I know it's a
Yeah.
good resource. I hear a lot about it, but
Mhm.
again, like once the year starts, it's like
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna do like back to what I
Right.
usually normally do,
Right.
right?
So just kind of if they had like a PD of learning about it and going in
Mhm.
depth of just the features of it without it being too overwhelming, just showing us like what it can do immediately when we start school,
Yeah.
so that we don't have to like go through and try to figure it out as the
Yeah.
year goes
Yeah.
by, and then choose their favorite resource and stick to it, I guess.
Yeah.
After the PD,
Yeah.
but at least having it and knowing what exactly it is, because we know, like I know News ELA and ReadWorks are passages, but I don't know what each of them do,
Yeah.
or which I would like best, or
Yeah.
I remember like my first year here, one of my favorite PDs that I'll always remember. It was in August, but we were able to like go, like it was a list of PDs were given to us, and then what rooms those PDs were going to be in, and then we got to like go to the rooms that we wanted to go to by choice.
Yeah.
And so it would be kind of neat if like we could think of those different like ReadWorks or
Resources,
News
yeah.
ELA or just online test taking strategies, like things like that, or like what even to like for the younger grades, even though they're not a testing grade,
Yeah.
but like just like we said, like exposing them to like what the kids are going to have, and let teachers kind of choose like their own PD of like, but it's all centered around like reading and like constructive responses, like one on like the race strategy. And that way too, like it also mixes grade levels together, like you were saying, like kind of that vertical alignment, like different grade levels, they don't have to stick together, they can all just kind of disperse, and then like a third grade teacher can be sitting with a kindergarten teacher, and they can like because we don't get to see each other in our classrooms or talk to like oh, like what are you guys doing in third grade, because they're on two different ends of the building. So
they would also like, I feel like even just teaching different concepts, like obviously everyone teaches things differently, but nobody really knows. And like especially like let's say for like a new teacher, if they never really knew, they're just gonna like figure it out themselves. But what if like what they figured out themselves, there was a better way? Like let's say for example, like counting money, like you have like the dots. So but like let's say it's for a new teacher, if they never knew that strategy, they're just trying to count money like just like an adult, but like they don't know
mental math.
They don't know the like strategies for like a second grader or first grader, you
Yeah.
know, or like
Mhm.
we do the Harry money.
Yeah.
But like, let's say a new teacher, like, what is Harry money? You know,
Right,
like
right.
they'll never know those concepts or those like
Mhm.
little things that like
Yeah.
that
come
can help
naturally,
teach you. I know like in third grade, one of like the big struggles was like tables and functions. So like I know for me, I always taught it like when you think of a table, like think of it as like an appliance. Um, like a microwave has one job. The only job that a microwave does is to like heat up your food, right?
Yeah.
So the input is cold food. What's the output? Warm food. So it's just a function. So like when you're looking at this chart, think about the function. Like you put in 1, it comes out as 3. What's the function? +2.
Mhm.
So that's like something else that like
Yeah.
I think like if we can even get like let's say like the 4th grade teachers or something
Mhm.
to like help us
Yeah.
in like how do you teach this or like
Because obviously they were doing something right.
yeah they were doing something right or even like the 3rd grade teachers or like I don't know like I feel like they have a mountain of knowledge
Yeah.
but nobody really ever asks
Yeah,
you know
I think it's like maybe at the beginning or before the beginning of the year starts, maybe or maybe now since it's like close to the end of the year to send out a survey of like if there's like something in particular like constructive responses, like what strategies have you noticed that
Yeah.
helped, and everybody shares their idea. Or another question could be just like what resource have you used to help students with reading comprehension, and everyone shares their resource, and then like
Yeah.
the beginning of the year kind of look at those responses and see like which ones we haven't heard of, and then kind of build our PD off of that. Like,
Mhm.
hey, do you mind sharing? I know you said that you use this at the end of the year. Do
Yeah.
you mind like
Sharing.
sharing it for a PD at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah. And I think too, like, we've talked a lot about, you know, building like the teachers' toolboxes of like professional developments, but like we don't want to also forget like the parents either. We want to like include them because
Yeah.
many of them they've never taken STAR as adults,
true.
and so they've never seen it. And
Mhm.
especially now with this change of being online and this new constructive response, um, like they don't know what the look for is, and like
Mhm.
even like having a kid try to come home and try to explain it to them after school, like I'm
Yeah.
sure they're confused
Yeah.
about it too. So I guess I was thinking about like how could we also include like parents, like get them involved with understanding um, the new STAR, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we used to have like literacy nights, but also like math nights as well. And like each teacher would share just for every grade level a strategy that they use to prepare them for reading comprehension, or for math, like reading math strategies, even like if it's Harry money, or like breaking apart numbers for addition or making 10
Yeah.
strategy, all of those, because the parents do not know, like
Mhm.
they have no idea what those are. So like every semester we would have like either a reading night or a literacy night or a math night or like a writing camp or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Just different little family things that they would come to.
Yeah.
They would just go to any booth that they would want, like it was in the cafeteria, and they would just go there and they would just pick up like little bits of knowledge on that, and
Mhm.
we'd always have something for them to be able to take home so that they could like
Yeah.
look at and remember what that strategy was, or they would make something, or they'd have a retelling bookmark, or different types of little things so they could remember and use at home as well. So kind of
Yeah.
supporting what we're doing here but at
And the
home.
parents, and like maybe even like the kids have like a take home, like you said, like a bookmark with like the retelling,
Yeah.
but then also give like a takeaway to the parents as well, like whether it's like a little like flyer or like a brochure or something that like a team makes. Yeah.
That has those ideas, or like something that you got from that booth.
Yeah. It's like a family night like type thing. Yeah. Because I think one school where I was, like, we did one, we kind of combined it with like a multicultural night as well. So like each grade level was a different country, and when families came in, they had a passport,
Oh.
and so like they went around and there was like a stamp for the passport. But yeah, very similar. Like I think like one classroom did like a content related
Mhm.
activity, but then like another classroom had parent volunteers with teachers, and they like did something with the culture of like that country, and
Oh, okay.
they like had like made a craft to like relate to
Yeah.
that country as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
so I think it's very important to incorporate both like what we're doing here at school and
Mhm.
like having parents like
Yeah.
support them at home, because I think that's something that's getting lost is there's not always parent communication. Like it's
Mhm.
usually about like behaviors and things like
Mhm.
that, but it's not always about like academics and
Right.
like what's actually being taught.
Mhm.
They care about their grades, but like when you actually get in depth of like, this is what I'm teaching, this is how I'm teaching
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
this is what I need your kid to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes like that gets so lost.
I think also like we have a lot of resources like iExcel and Zern and let's say ReadWorks and Get Epic and things like that. But like when they get home, the parents don't know about any of it. So making sure like we communicate that. But I also think it would be very helpful if like I don't know who, but someone can like maybe do like a video of them like how to log into your Clever account and like
Mhm.
if we can just get one video that we can use every year, I think that would like help tremendously, you know?
Yeah.
Like how to get into your Clever account, how to get into your ReadWorks, how to get into your whatever. And like when you go into iExcel, this is what it looks like. Let's explore iExcel.
Yeah.
Somebody else can do like, this is what Zern looks like and what it
Yeah.
means. What are these flags? Like all of that. Like if someone can just make a video
Mm-hmm.
and just
Yeah.
like we can keep that video
Right.
and then send it out in our newsletters every every day
Yeah.
or every
Especially at the
week,
beginning of the
especially at the beginning. Like
Yeah.
they'll see.
Jesus Vega, please report to the front office. Jesus Vega from Ms. Ortiz. Please report to the front office.
Well, one of the things I was like thinking about is with like Eureka is like I feel like that's just a whole new math program that parents don't. That's another thing
Oh,
parents don't know. And since every grade level is using it, like something we can like, because I think it'll also help them. Because I think like some of the strategies in Eureka are not like bad strategies. It's like it's taken me like a learning curve to like learn how to teach them.
Mhm.
But I do like in the what's the homework book? The Succeed book. In the Succeed book, because it's the homework,
Yeah.
like some of the questions are a little bit easier for like the student to do, but there's always that like the homework helper. And I think like if I kind of, I won't say it's a regret, but I kind of, moving forward, I would want to like utilize it more, and then maybe introduce it to the parents at like, not meet the teacher, but at like open house, like, hey, like I'm gonna start sending home this homework,
Mhm.
and this homework helper is going to come with it, so that you can also see like these are the strategies
Yeah.
that are being taught.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, parents just they want to know, but they don't know how to ask always, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
because
Like they don't know what they don't know.
right, and they do ask like, how can I help them at home?
Yeah.
And sometimes like it's so easy just to give them just a basic answer
Mhm.
of like, oh, read with them for 20 minutes or something, but like
Yeah.
to really,
To have something specific.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think parents would appreciate something
Yeah.
very specific in that.
And I think we
regard.
forget about those resources too. Like sometimes we have so many things that just come natural to us. We're like, oh yeah, it's this or that in our heads. But when it comes to like when the parents ask, we're like, well, what can they use at home?
Yeah.
We don't think that it can transfer, but it really can. Like
Mhm.
whatever you're using in the classroom can definitely be used at home. And then that Succeed book, it's really easy because it's like the same wording and that we
Yeah.
use in the class with their other book, their Learn book.
Yeah.
So
I think all these are like really great ideas, and I think to help solve the problem of the reading score, since we all noticed that was a decrease, I think really streamlining a solid like professional development, also incorporating parents, and just getting feedback from the teachers too of resources that they use, I think are all like really great. I think we're in like in the steps in the right direction
Yeah.
to like help improve.
Yeah, I think the
Those
early
words.
exposure would really, really help.
Mm-hmm.
That will help tremendously.
Yeah. I just need to write some of these down so we can remember.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of them.
No, that's really great. Well, thank you again, and thank you for your time looking over this TAPR report and looking at the different, like the glows and the grows
Yeah.
that we have